the wonderful people who have taken time out on a Sunday evening to link up to this program. I know how precious the weekends are to us, especially if you are from a place like Lagos, where there's so much pressure in terms of traffic and other social situations. I do not take your presence here for granted. The theme for today's Selling with Scriptures is help for your 2024 vision. Help for your 2024 vision. And thinking about this theme, one thing came to my mind. The audience I'll be speaking with are coming from very, very diverse backgrounds. Some are self-employed, some are employees, some are students, and some are in all kinds of socioeconomic engagements. So what can I talk about that will resonate with almost all these people and make a difference to them for 2024? And how can I chip in something that they can run with that would help them to do well and achieve their visions for 2024? And as I thought about what I could share, it occurred to me that I should situate all I would say within the framework of emotional intelligence. And I'll share some thoughts with you on how you can look at some of the competencies that emotional intelligence pushes forward, how you can take them and apply them to your visions, and how they can help you to achieve better results in 2024. So the help that I'll be sharing with you is to share thoughts with you on how you can basically improve on what you are setting out to do. And hopefully you would get a thing or two that could add value to you. So, but before then, let me quickly also look at the general subject matter of emotional intelligence. So much has been said about it. Quite a number of you are familiar with. And so of emotional intelligence, it starts with the first, which is self-awareness. Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You know, it talks about basically knowing yourself. And from that, you proceed to the next level, which is self-management. Having known yourself, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, how do you manage yourself so that you make the most of your strengths and then you minimize the adverse effects your weaknesses could have on you, or perhaps even take practical steps to convert those weaknesses into additional strengths. You know, it also helps you to look at the gaps in your life and draw your attention to the areas where you can seek help, where you can reach out to others. Okay, I have a gap in this area. I can't do much about it, but do I have somebody in my network who can cover up for me, who can link up with me? And when it is time for me to perform certain tasks where I do not have the capacity, this person steps in. Then we have the third level, which is social awareness. This talks about your relating with people, how you are of benefit to others, to the community, sharing the same space with other people and respecting the access you have to them. You know, basically, it talks about relating well with people. And then the fourth level is relationship management. Here, we're talking about leadership, developing others, and the impact and influence that you have on other people. And that is where I'm going to be concentrating this evening. I'll talk about relationship management and the competency clusters, or rather the competencies that are clustered under that. So let's see what we're looking at here. It says it's inducing desirable responses in others. And it occurred to me to talk about this because we're talking about vision actualization here. There is no vision you have right now that you can actualize 100% on your own. You need other people to cooperate with you. And if you're going to get people to cooperate with you, then you must induce in them a positive desire to work with you. You must get them to see things from your perspective and get on the same page with you. And I would look at a few of these. There are 8 competencies that make up this cluster. I will not talk about all 8. I might just talk about 3 of them. But let's see how far we go. I'd like to start with communication. Communication, subject matter that a lot of people are familiar with. What is communication? For me, I try to define it as sending a message to somebody else, that person understanding that message and cooperating with you. I know many definitions out there stop at the point of understanding. They're like, once a person understands you, that's okay. But in the course of my research on communication, I discovered that quite often the problem is not understanding. I could understand you, but still refuse to cooperate with you. For instance, if I was standing directly in your path of movement and you asked me to get out of the way, I perfectly understand that. You want me to get out of the way, but would I get out of the way? Would I cooperate with you? Would I do what you want me to do? So a good communicator not only strives to achieve understanding, but also to elicit the cooperation of the person they are communicating with. And whatever vision you have this year, you need to communicate it with your critical stakeholders. Remember, I said earlier that you cannot achieve this vision on your own. You will need other people to work with you. But the extent to which they work with you and cooperate with you and make their resources available to you depends on the extent to which they understand you and then are willing to work with you. So you need to communicate very clearly. And therefore, you need to look at the things that would help you communicate better, the platforms you would prefer to use for the communication, what channels of communication are available to you. We are in a digital age now. If you are still doing analog and you are wondering why you're not getting certain results, then you need to upgrade. You need to do something. If your business is still generally out of the digital space, then you need to take a second look at it. Even if your person is out of the digital space, a lot of people market their persons on the digital space. LinkedIn and similar platforms are out there where people are putting out their CVs and other bits of information about them, and also letting others know that they're available for employment if employment is what you're looking for. If you're an entrepreneur, there are also platforms where you can push your enterprise. Instagram in this part of the world appears to be leading the charge there. And I think in more recent times, WhatsApp also has some features that can help you to push your enterprise. So you need to communicate with your critical stakeholders. And there's so much to say about communication. But the most important thing I want to say here is that ensure that the people you're communicating with are paying attention to the channel that you have chosen to communicate with them through. Because you would waste all your efforts if you are sending messages to platforms and channels that the people you are targeting are not tuned into. A very simple example, I do not watch television much. So if you tell me about a new advert on a product and all that, it doesn't matter how much the company has spent to put out that advert. If they put it out on the television, I'm not likely going to see it. I may hear it as maybe as a recorded speech from some other people who tell me, oh, there's this advert out there and all that. But I do listen to the radio, and I spend a lot of time on social media. So if you want to get my attention, you either come to the social media or you put it on, and not just any radio. I spend a lot of time on a particular radio channel. You have to find out what that radio channel is. And you can get me on that radio channel by 6:30 a.m. all the way to 7:30 a.m. So when I'm working out in the mornings, I have my ear piece plugged on. I'm on that channel. So anything you put out there, I'm going to hear it. I'm going to know about it. So you want to find out the platforms and the channels that the people you want to communicate with are tuned into. The second thing I'll quickly talk about is developing others. Again, your vision is bigger than you. And here, I'd like to quote John Maxwell, who said that one is too small a number to achieve greatness. One is too small a number to achieve greatness, which means while you have this vision, you need to develop people who would help you along with that vision. And since we're looking at, we're on the platform of Selling with Scriptures, it's not out of place to refer to a few characters in the Judeo-Christian philosophy. You have Abraham, who developed Lot. You had Moses, who developed Joshua. You had Elijah, who developed Elisha. And you had Jesus Christ himself, who developed 12 others, 120, and so many others. So that process of developing others is actually designed to help you to carry out your vision, because you realize there are limitations to the place. I mean, you are not ubiquitous, you're not omnipresent, you cannot be everywhere. And then you're also not omnipotent, so you don't have all the power to do everything. So you need to leverage on other people's capacities to achieve certain objectives. So you must develop other people. And how do you develop other people? First, by delegating responsibilities to them. Perhaps I should start with explaining the vision to them so that they understand exactly. And that takes us back to communication, really. You can see that they are interwoven. So you need to communicate the vision to them. They need to understand it. They need to buy into it. And then you need to begin to give certain aspects of that vision to them to run with. So based on what you have understood about their areas of strengths and the value they can bring to the table, you can begin to delegate some responsibilities to them so that you free yourself up for the very important assignments that that particular vision requires. Okay, so through delegation, you develop other people. Of course, you begin by delegating non-threatening assignments to them. When I mean non-threatening, if there is a lapse in the performance, it won't threaten the vision as a whole. And then while doing that, you are also training them and equipping them with the necessary skills so that when you delegate responsibilities to them, they have the capacity to deliver on those responsibilities. You also develop others through mentorship and coaching. These are also platforms for developing others. And that way you see that you are multiplying yourself, and the assignments that you want to pursue, that vision, the burden is not so heavy on your shoulders anymore, because there are other people who have the ability to carry aspects of that vision. And so you are lighter, you can run faster. And this brings me to the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. So in developing others, really, you are doing yourself a favor, because you are guaranteeing that the vision will outlive you. You are guaranteeing that the vision will go farther. Perhaps what you had even envisioned was just for Nigeria. By the time you have developed other people and brought them into this network, they might be able to take that vision farther beyond Nigeria, maybe to West Africa, to the rest of Africa, and then Europe and America and the whole world, really. It's amazing what people you have developed can bring to the table based on how much they're able to key into the vision and the interpretations they bring to that vision. So let me talk about conflict management. Since we're talking about relating with other people, how does that help? It's inevitable. I used to jokingly say that in Matthew chapter 29, verse 10, it says, where two or more are gathered, conflict is present in their midst. And I remember saying this in a training program I had once, and some of the young folks were quickly checking out this scripture on their phones. And I kept looking at them, and after a while, one of the people said, sir, there's no Matthew chapter 28, chapter 29. And I laughed. I said, yes, there's no Matthew chapter 29. And the very fact that you wanted to verify if it had a 29th chapter simply confirms that you're not friends with your Bible, you know. So of course we had a good laugh. Yes, there's no Matthew chapter 29, but I just say that so that you understand that that statement actually does have some elements of universal applicability. Where you bring people together, conflict is inevitable. And we know the reasons for these conflicts, different personalities. In fact, anything that has to do with diversity also has within it the seeds of potential conflict. So how do you manage conflict so that it does not threaten your vision? You are going to want to work with certain persons to achieve this vision. They could be your superiors, they could be your subordinates, they could be your peers. With each of these groups, there's the potential for conflict. So what do? We come back to the issue of communication. How do you use communication as a tool to diffuse conflict, to express conflict in a non-threatening manner? It's okay to be angry, but how do I express my anger? It's okay to be disappointed at the performance of a subordinate, but how do I express that disappointment so that in expressing the disappointment, I don't destroy my team? I don't discourage my team members. So I must express my disappointment strongly and firmly enough, but in a way that would not drag this person into depression, but rather help them to see where they need to work on and get better. So with conflict management, therefore, you need to understand first what your own conflict management strategy is. Do you repress anger, or are you an exploder? Or do you slowly and dangerously leak your anger in subtle ways without even letting the other person know you are angry? All these three modes of conflict expression are dangerous. Those who repress their anger are dangerous people because quite often you cannot repress your anger and other negative feelings for too long. At some point, like we say, you're going to explode. And quite often the trigger will be something absolutely insignificant, and people are going to wonder, she only said this, or he only did that. How come the anger was so much? It will be because this person has been repressing the anger. So repressing anger as a conflict management strategy is not a good one. What about those who explode at the least provocation? They just let it go. And if they're angry, everybody needs to take cover, literally, because the sparks will fly everywhere and debris will go everywhere. Again, that is not a helpful strategy for managing conflict, because people are going to be walking around you as if they are walking on eggs. They don't want to break any of the eggs. People are afraid to let you know what they think because they don't have the bandwidth for your explosive nature. So they're going to keep a lot of things from you. And of course, that is not going to help with your vision. And then we have those who we call leakers. They just let out the anger in subtle ways. They manifest what we call passive aggressive behavior because they don't want to confront you. So when they should be present at a particular event at, say, 8 a.m., they come late as a way of expressing their displeasure, or they carry out acts of sabotage covertly so that they jeopardize the vision. So what is the best strategy? Be upfront, be assertive, state what the disagreement is, state what you don't like about the situation, but do so politely, do so respecting the feelings of this other person, and do so while also proffering solutions on the best way forward. So I believe when we manage conflict effectively, our visions stand a chance of being achieved and accomplished in the course of the year. I don't know the kind of conflict you're going to have to deal with this year and who in your network you have to go into conflict with, but whatever it is, know that the presence of conflict does not mean that the vision was wrong initially, or that that person was not even meant to be a member of that team. So looking at one more competency, influence, visionary leadership, building bonds, change catalysts, collaboration and teamwork. So let me talk about that, collaboration and teamwork. Okay, and collaboration, working with other people. I remember when I was a little kid, one of the programs, incidentally, even though I said I don't watch much of TV as an adult, I did a lot of that as a child. Perhaps I had done all my TV watching as a child. Every 4 o'clock, 4 in the evening, we were in front of the television set, waiting for the national anthem, and then Sesame Street. I don't know how many of you were raised on Sesame Street like I was, but I remember one day, I was with a few friends of mine, and I'm talking about some very big boys here. And I mentioned Sesame Street, and to my surprise, we were close to 10 guys. I'm talking about men, and they were all bringing up their favorite songs from Sesame Street, and the lessons they learned from Sesame Street. I understand Sesame Street still runs, but of course, I'm sure the characters I used to know are no longer there. Mr. Hoover, uh, um, Maria, and some of those fellows. I'm sure those guys are all gone by now. But one of the lessons I took away from Sesame Street, and this appeared in many of their editions, they always talked about cooperation. That is cooperation. This is cooperation. So many scenarios talked about cooperation. Why is that important? Collaboration, working with people. Again, it takes us back to a statement I made earlier. You cannot do it on your own. You need, like we say in this part of the world, you need collaborate. But you see, how do you determine who to collaborate with? And this has to do with your team selection and then your team building, okay? And then your team management. These are three very different concepts: team selection, team building, team management, they are very different, related though, but different, because at every stage you're looking at different things. So in selecting your team, it's always important to ensure that there's diversity. You bring in people who have strengths you don't have, and then bring in people who have assets that you don't have, So your network is quite diverse, but still, when you bring them, they are able to be blended.
Recording in progress.
Into a functioning body, a functional group. Okay, so you want to do your team selection carefully, and then you go into team building. Of course, team building is a process, and you remember there are basically 4 levels. There's the forming stage, the storming stage, the numbing stage, and then the performing stage. So I'll quickly talk about each of these stages, and we'll be done. At the forming stage, everyone is coming to be part of the team. I do not know much about you. You do not know much about me. So we have a lot of people putting up false appearances, putting out their best foot out there. A lot of facades. People are still hiding behind masks. I don't want to drop my mask. I'm still watching you from behind the mask. At that level, there's a lot of faking. There's no reality yet. Like they say, the rubber has not met the road. Okay, everything is nice. We're honeymooning and it's all beautiful. Then we begin to get to know one another better. Maybe we're having the first meeting or the first activity. And then I begin to notice that you talk too much. You're quite a talker. And I find that irritable. So the stage is slowly being set for the storms to start flying. And then some other person takes things without permission. They wants to write on their jotter, they lean across the table, take your pen without even looking at your face, they make their notes, and then worse, they keep the pen beside them. I mean, you took that pen from me. You didn't ask me. You've used it without my permission, and then you drop it in front of you. So what do you want me to do, bro? I should ask for permission to use my pen? So all these tension is building, and then the storms begin to come. Soon the team is about to disintegrate because people don't want to see each other, one another. They don't want to work with one another. They want to listen to one another. As the visionary, you must manage this very carefully, both openly and behind the scenes. You need to go behind the scenes and talk to certain persons, especially when talking to them openly might hurt their ego. Okay, you talk with them privately, point out their limitations, and tell them what you expect of them. So by the time they come up openly, nobody knows you have rebuked them privately, and their ego is still intact. They're still willing to work. Very delicate stage, because you could lose your team at that point. And then go to the third stage, the performing stage. I've decided, well, I can't do anything about the fact that this guy talks too much. So when you start talking, I just zero out, just zone out. I begin to think of my pigeons and how many chicks they're going to hatch by the end of the month. The moment your voice stops, the sound is not coming, I come back to the meeting. Somehow we just learn to tolerate one another. I also begin to see some sense in the things you say. Okay, yeah, you talk too much, but you actually talk some sense. So we are just normalizing the situation. No quarrels, but we're coasting along. The performing stage is when we now begin to learn to work together as a team, when it is time for us to put you out there because you have the strength and the competencies for this particular assignment. We all take the backseat and we put you out there. For instance, we need to make a presentation on finances. You are the finance person and you understand finances. You understand soliciting for funds. We allow you to do the presentation because that's a forte. And then it's time to go knocking on some doors for soliciting businesses and all that. I'm a marketer, I'm a salesperson, that's what I do. So I take the leadership at that point. Okay, then it comes to recruiting. Okay, another person has the capacity to truly look beyond the discussions across the table and beyond what is on the CVs to really discern who this particular applicant is. So you now begin to see that we are performing as a team, we're achieving better results. So folks, if you want to succeed this year, you need to have a team that will work with you to push that vision forward. But be careful about how you assemble your team. And then when the team is going through its phases, do not get discouraged and think that it's all over, but hang in there, do all you can to manage the conflicts and resolve them. And hopefully with a great team working behind you, you can achieve your vision for 2024. There will be obstacles, there will be challenges, but do not give up. One of the earlier competencies in one of the clusters talks about um, resilience. You know, you need resilience in the face of what is going on in Nigeria and other parts of the world, global economic challenges, social unrest and all that. All these threaten our visions, and they're going to threaten them even more because we do not know what the year will unfold as we go along. However, if you are resilient, you will come out on top. And at the end of the year, you certainly will have stories to share, and there'll be stories of success, of glory, and of victory. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And Tonya Briggs, you can continue coordinating from here.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, I was just jotting down different things. And I don't know first if there are, thank you so much, sir. I'm sure maybe one or two questions. Some of the things I know I jotted down are what channels are you using for what channels are you using? Are your proposed customers or your target market, are they on those channels? What else did I capture? Vision achievements. So if you want to chat or if you want to please unmute if you have any question. Vision achievement is not possible without assistance from people. I like the fact I also didn't see that part when you said Abraham raised Lot, Moses, Joshua, Elijah, Elisha. And this part got me very interesting when you said when you bring people together, conflict is inevitable. And one thing I think I have to start doing is behind the scenes engagement. And finally, I think I wrote down for this year 2024, have you selected your team? I mean, quite enriching. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for everyone has joined. I don't know if anybody has any question, short, brief, but loaded. Anybody, if you have a question, you can kindly unmute or you could put it in the chat box. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening. My name is
Blossom.
Yeah, my name is Blossom. I don't know why the noise. I don't know. Is it from me?
Just go ahead. Go ahead. I think it's clearer now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. For those of us that are in the civil service, trying to mentor people. For those of us that are all of those are coming. For those of us that are in the civil service trying to mentor people, sir, what is the counsel that you will give, especially when the young ones of today, they don't want to, because you talked about selecting your team, which is very important. The young ones of today, they don't want to, I don't know what to say. They want to live a life of their own. They don't want to follow ethics. They don't want to follow morality. They don't want to follow a lot of things. So what do you do to be able to, get them to do? How do you sell your idea to this? I think that's the question. How do you sell your idea to people to make them follow and you be an influence to them? That's my question, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Blossom, for that question. The truth is you cannot mentor an unwilling mentee. It has to be a mutually, how do I put it? There has to be some agreements. You know, the person that you want to mentor must believe that there's something in you that they want to tap into. Okay, and once there is sugar, the ants will gather. Once there's a flower, the butterflies will come around. So first, you need to make yourself attractive enough. They need to see something in you that they will desire. They want to be like you. And then when they come around you, then you now look for a way to communicate to them. You must communicate with them again, almost on their terms. I'm talking about the so-called Gen Zs. You see, we've tried to communicate with them on our terms, and they just keep tuning out. So you need to find out the best way to engage them. And these are people who spend a lot of time on social platforms. So, and then they like entertainment. You must put your message in entertaining forms. It's going to require a lot of work to engage them. You know, again, their attention span is quite short. This is something that has been researched into and confirmed. In fact, I had a training session last week, and they were Gen Zs, you know, staff of a bank. And I was talking about demographic analysis, how you can come up with a demographic profile to understand your audience. And I said, oh, Gen Zs. So I said they are trying to remember the words I used, but I used 3 negative words. But each time I said the word, they gave me a positive word. You know, I said they are indulgent. They said we are innovative. I said something else. They gave me another one. You know, so we had fun. Of course, most of them are about half my age, but for the 2 days we spent, I was able to relate with them because you must come down from your own level. You see, my generation, we have our own issues too. You know, you must respect me, you must talk to me in a particular kind of way. These guys don't care. So you must forget all about that. There are things they do that we were raised to believe were disrespectful. You must disengage from that thinking, at least until you get their attention. And then after a while, bring them back to that father. Oh, do you know the way you talked to this person that time wasn't the best way? In fact, some of them will begin to see it themselves. So it's a lot of work, really, because I understand I was a public servant until October last year when I retired. So I understand what you're saying. It's a challenge getting these people to even be committed to an 8 o'clock to 4 p.m. work culture. It's even something as simple as that is so tough, you know, but we keep trying. So don't give up. Don't get discouraged, close up. Look for the best way to engage with them, befriend them, and then present yourself in a way that they don't get threatened by your personality. You know, this madame, auntie kind of thing will scare them off. So make them see that you are their friend, and then hopefully you'll be able to engage with them. I hope that helps you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. I don't know if anyone else has any other question. Thank you, Kinde, for joining in.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Blossom.
Thank you. Any other question? Any other question? Managing Gen Z, very wonderful generation. Thank you, Kinde, joining us from Ilorin. Thank you. Um, I don't know if anyone has any other question. Uh, okay. One of the things I think, if I go back, also one thing you said, sir, which everybody has to, yeah, selling with scriptures is a Christian platform, but there's something you said, sir, when you talked about resilience, and you said no matter how we plan, we're going to have obstacles. So for everyone on this platform, yeah, we just have to be resilient. The year is unfolding. There's going to be obstacles and all of that. So that was also one critical thing I took note of. Thank you so much, sir. Well, if we don't have any other question,